Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the City of Bloomington Township to order. And if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Milwamboy,
Here.
trustee Kearns, trustee Bolin. Here. Trustee Mutney,
Here.
trustee Dannenberger,
Here.
trustee Becker,
Here.
trustee Hendricks.
Here.
Trustee Ward, trustee Lee,
Here.
trustee Crumpler.
Here.
And I know trustee Ward had asked to join remotely, but I can't remember if it is for just a regular meeting or
I believe it's just for a regular
just
council
for,
meeting.
okay, all right. Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me, this is Molly.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sick, so I'd like to join both meetings.
Okay. Is
I
there
stand
a,
corrected.
yeah, so is there a motion?
I'll move for
Okay.
virtual attendance.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Hendricks and second by Councilmember Bolin. You're going to do a voice vote or roll call?
Roll call.
Yep.
Trustee Milwamboy,
Yes.
trustee Bolin. Yes. Trustee Mutney,
Yes.
trustee Dannenberger,
Yes.
trustee Becker,
Yes.
trustee Hendricks.
Yes.
Trustee Lee,
Yes.
trustee Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ward, you are official. And we are going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay,
consent agenda.
motion by trustee
second.
Bolin, second by trustee Crumpler. And are we using these fancy thingies?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
No.
No? Okay, all right. It's just to roll
Roll
call?
call.
Yes?
Trustee Milwamboy,
Yes?
trustee Bolin.
Yes.
Trustee Mutney,
Yes.
trustee Dannenberger,
Yes.
trustee Becker,
Yes.
trustee Hendricks.
Yes.
Trustee Ward,
Aye.
trustee Lee,
Yes.
trustee Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, and the consent agenda passes. We're going to move on to regular agenda. And with item 6A, presentation and acceptance of the fiscal year 2024 annual financial report, also known as annual audit. Comments?
I wanted to introduce Andrew Beasley. He works with Phillips and Associates. He has a couple comments about the annual financial report.
I'm Andrew Beasley from Phillips and Associates. I was the lead auditor for this year's audit of the township of the city of Bloomington.
Could you speak more into the microphone and bring it closer?
For the audit of the township of the city of Bloomington, we had an unmodified opinion on cash basis of accounting. And the total assets of the town were $3,831,401 at the end of the fiscal year. The restricted fund balance was $528,898, which was made up of the general assistance fund. There was an assigned balance of $520,986, which was due to the construction and renovation of the property, and an unassigned balance of $2,781,517. For the fiscal year, there was expenditures exceeded revenue by $232,233. That was primarily due to the construction and renovation of the building. That was part of the budgeted expenditures for the fiscal year. The town had a budgeted of $3,689,540 for the town. They only expended $2,456,000 of that, which they were under budget by $1.2 million. The general assistance fund had a budget of $579,000, and they only expended $307,000. They were under budget by $272,000 for the fiscal year. The cemetery had a cash balance of $1,226,221 at the end of the fiscal year, all of that is restricted for the use of the cemetery. The revenues exceeded expenditures for the cemetery by $56,310. And they had assets held in private trusts of $298,000 at the end of the fiscal year. The cemetery had a budget of $984,500 and expended $811,000 during the fiscal year, so they're under budget by $173,000. There were no significant estimates that they had and no difficulties that we had during the audit. There was no uncorrected misstatements for the financial statements, and there's no disagreements with management during the audit. There was a transition with the bookkeeper during the year, and there was no issues found with the transition. And wanted to thank Catherine and Donna and Deb for all their help and their hard work to help get the financial statements in line and help us get the audit done quickly and make sure everything's correct. And lastly, there was no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control.
Sounds good. Are there any questions? Okay, no questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item 6B, presentation acceptance of the fiscal year 2024 annual treasurer's report. And any
Do we need to
comments?
approve that last item? This is acceptance? Okay.
The annual, let's see, where am I at? Annual treasurer's report is also just for presentation only. So I don't have anything additional to add.
Okay. Questions? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to the next item, item 6C, report on Torma's claim filed on storm damage at Evergreen Cemetery. I'm gonna turn it over to Supervisor Skilruth.
You did see pictures. There's a considerable amount of damage, but Torma is our risk management and they take good care of us when we have issues like this. Several stones were turned over and the John M. Scott plaque was also damaged by it, but they've been good to account for all the expenses associated with repairs. So we're expecting a check from them. I don't know what that is right now.
You see that quite a bit of damage.
Mhm. I just thought you might be interested in it.
Yeah. Jeff, go ahead. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, Deb, I saw the photographs. Thanks for including those. And I wondered, do you have any sense of how long it's going to take to, to clean it up and get everything back the way it should be?
No, I'm sure they're working on the trees right now. I don't know that, I don't have the time frame. Might take a month. They're pretty quick about responding. Probably Pontiac Monument Place will take care of repairing the stones as well, so.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none. We are going to move to item 6D, consideration discussion of compensation for the township's elected officials, including the Township Board of Trustees.
This is beginning discussions. As I said, we're going to keep this on the agenda each month. I did provide you with a packet of information that you will be able to review before our next meeting. And if you have any questions about it in between, this is just a draft form and discussion will, become more transparent as we go next month. Any questions that you may have can be provided to us, either the assessor or myself, by email or by phone call, one-on-one basis. Next month will be an open forum to discuss. And I also can provide this by scan if you're interested in that. I'll just send that out by scan.
Yeah.
Just wanted to
That'd be
have a hard
helpful.
copy.
It'd be helpful to have it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It's a big group. I don't have anything further included in my supervisor's report.
Sounds good. I see no questions, so we'll move on. And so nothing supervisor report? Okay, all right. Now we'll turn it over to Township Assessor Scudder.
And I reported a list of the exemptions that are provided by the Department of Revenue for the taxpayers for a little bit of relief on for certain demographics, seniors mainly. The cause in they didn't raise the cap for the senior freeze higher than 65,000. And we had a few people come into the office with their assessment going up, and then they went over the 65,000 threshold, so then they got a double hit. So a note to everybody to keep on the county and make sure you have all the exemptions that you qualify for, and the seniors that have the freeze, even if they didn't qualify this year, to continue to submit the application because they may qualify in the next year, and then I'll help them out then. So to continue to, it's not an automatic, just continue to apply for the exemption.
Okay, any questions? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Trustee Bolin and then Trustee Hendricks. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we're adjourned and we'll see you in about 17 minutes. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is what you call standing room only meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the City of Bloomington Council. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Okay, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Kearns,
Here.
Councilmember Bolin,
Here.
Councilmember Motney,
Here.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Here.
Councilmember Becker,
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Here.
Councilmember Ward, Councilmember Lee,
Here.
Councilmember Crumpler,
Here.
Mayor Mill.
Here. At this point, we'd like to ask for a motion for Councilmember Ward to participate remotely due to illness.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Bolin.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Motney. We're doing a roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ward, are you there?
I am. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And please remind me, call for clear your throat or something sometimes if you want to participate, so I don't forget.
I'll sneeze or cough.
There you go. We're going to move on to recognitions and appointments, and we have a proclamation for Arts and Health Day on July 27, 2024, as requested by the Administration Department. I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. I believe Hisal is here. Okay, awesome. A proclamation for Arts and Health Day. Whereas the National League of Cities recognizes the arts and culture have a tremendous impact on cities, towns, and villages across the country. Whereas the National League of Cities recognizes that the impact of arts and culture spans economic development, community and individual health, housing and the built environment, workforce development, civic participation, education, activism, and social cohesion. Whereas participation in arts experiences has been shown to reduce depression and anxiety, improve physical health outcomes, reduce social isolation, and build strong community networks. Whereas through arts and for everybody, the National League of Cities has championed the work of cities of all sizes to increase community well-being through partnership with the arts and artists' employment. Whereas the City of Bloomington is a proud member of the National League of Cities and has benefited from the organization's research, technical expertise, federal advocacy, and opportunities to learn from other local governments. Whereas today, the national venture Arts for Everybody is celebrating and amplifying the intrinsic health benefits of the arts and culture with 18 communities across the United States. Whereas the City of Bloomington values the contributions of the arts and culture sector to the City of Bloomington and how the arts make our community unique, engaging, and robust. Now, therefore, I, Mboka Malambwe, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, hereby proclaims July 27, 2024 as Arts and Health Day in celebration of all that the arts and culture contribute to the social cohesion and well-being of the City of Bloomington. We can clap. Thank you. Everybody to take a picture. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Very big group. My name is Angelique Ratchke. I am part of the Cultural Commission of the City of Bloomington. I am also the Executive Director of BCAI Cultural Arts and Humanities here locally. We work with youth and we are kind of like the crossbones of the, the social work network as well as the cultural arts. So this is where we meet in the middle at BCAI. So we make sure that our families get everything they need. So when it comes to arts and culture, this is absolutely imperative. It is imperative for youth to understand their identity, where they come from. Arts help them express themselves in ways that nothing else can. So it teaches them that not only is painting and maybe graffiti or furniture building and labor, any type of trade is also an art form, anything you have to use your imagination for. So teaching them to find parts of themselves is absolutely crucial. And it's something that adults can benefit from and everything of that. So the health and this proclamation is absolutely imperative in moving forward. There's gonna be a huge event next year, July, to I guess commemorate or not, or just be a part of this big movement of heart where art meets health. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Well,
Thank you
thank
for the
you.
information.
Thank you very much for all the work that you do on the commission. I know the commission had been a little bit dormant because of COVID, but it's very nice to see all of you bring it back to life, and we're looking forward to that wonderful, really big celebration next year. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to move to the next item, 5B, presentation and recognition of the 2024 Youth Enrichment Program participants as requested by the Human Resources Department. This is a wonderful program that we do every year, and certainly appreciate the staff's participation in mentoring all of these incredibly brilliant young people. So Nicole, I'm gonna turn it over to you. For
I'm
the
chuckling
presentation.
because they all said we were told there'd be like 5 people here and they have to present. So they're a
Surprise.
little nervous. Okay, Phil, if you can go ahead and start, please.
We brought a few of our friends.
Or whoever's doing the slides. Next slide, please. All right. So what is the Youth Enrichment Program? Super excited to be here with you guys this evening. Some of you know this. This is year 5 of a program that started all from an idea that was presented to the city of Bloomington by the Jewel Foundation, and then eventually we partnered with the NAACP. It has grown in intensity, it has grown in agenda, it has grown in how far outreaching it is with other communities, or I'm sorry, other agencies within the community as a way to bring our youth forward, expose them to government positions, government careers. And I'm really excited to say that every one of our departments has participated in this. We are on our last week, and so next week they will officially go back to their regular jobs as students from local high schools, but it's been a fabulous year. You're going to hear from each of them individually on, they're going to spend about a minute sharing with you what they did experience in this year's program. Next slide, please. All right, so program benefits, again, just exposing youth to careers in local government, but it goes beyond that. It's also providing them some social and emotional well-being within a very safe environment. We have assigned them to mentors that go through a mentorship training before our mentees are brought in. And it is obviously, building a cohort among themselves for support. And they're also getting paid for this. So it's not free labor that we're getting. They're learning occupational skills, trades, we've talked about the trades. So everything that you can imagine from what an internship program would look like, they've experienced it this summer. Next slide, please. So arts and entertainment, our city clerk's office, you can see the whole list of positions that were offered throughout our departments. Next slide, please. Okay, Jenny Smith. So I do have to recognize a few people in the audience. If there are any mentors here, I know Jill's here, Kyle, Sergeant Nowers. You can just stand and be recognized. These are the guys that made it happen. So just want to say thank you to them. And then I want to give Sean a quick shout out, not because he was from HR, but because he put this position or this PowerPoint together. So that was really his number one task for us is organize, get it together, put it out there. So just a quick hand for Sean. And then, of course, Jenny Smith, our recruiter, was not able to be here tonight, but she is the one that has coordinated this, works with the parents of the youth, works with the youth, and works with the different departments to get them up and running. So I am going to stop talking and turn it over to our youth to come behind the podium. And then when your name and slide comes up, just spend, no more than a minute talking about what experience you had with the program, please. And I'm going to step aside. So who's up first? Tucker.
Good afternoon. My name is Tucker Antonacci, and I'm going to be telling you a little about my time with the IT department. So a little bit about what I learned while being with the IT department. I learned a lot about how the different divisions within the IT department, because there's 3 separate ones, how they all kind of work together to keep the city's networks and services up and running so that the city performs as it should be. I learned a lot about how the city is being protected actively from cyber threats and cyber criminals. And I also learned a little bit about how the city's data is kept and stored so that we can use it for the future. I have started to make an impact. I will make one further as I continue being here. The main way I make that impact is by creating a document that is basically a large patch management document, and it's helped to patch numerous vulnerabilities within the city's group policy. And then a little bit about what I do day to day. I'm a cybersecurity major at Illinois State, so I work hand in hand with Kyle, our security analyst for the city, and we kind of just daily, check on different secure vulnerabilities within the city, and we make sure that the city's network is safe and protected. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Olive Blick, and as an intern in the legal department, I learned the importance of confidentiality, attention to detail, and responsibility. I also feel that I gained a better understanding of the legal field as a whole. And as for my impact on the community, although I don't think I could have made a profound impact on my own, I believe my efforts have helped others in this department achieve things. And I think I've contributed to a larger picture by working under them. And for what I did in the department, the things I did were focused mostly on paper every day. Most days I would staple, alphabetize, review, and file papers. Besides that, I would work digitally to categorize other documents or read through them and fill out needed information. Here and there, I would also attend hearings and commissions. And that's pretty much it.
Good afternoon. I'm Chenzo Catoni. So I kind of have a crazy story. So technically, I'm not supposed to be doing this spot 2 years in a row, but I had a little confusion here and there. But I came back for a second year. So I learned that you had to be very flexible in this position, and you had to sort a lot of folders and rename them. And this took a lot of communication throughout the process. I mean, it was a great year coming back, I guess. Yeah, I just sorted a lot of files. I renamed them. I'd look at Freedom of Information Acts. I'd look over them. And I would also answer over the soft phone if anybody had questions. But yeah, I had a great second year as a city clerk. So yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Fernandez, and during this summer, I interned in the finance department. First off, I'd like to thank the finance department for showing me various tasks of the department. This internship was very informative and gave me a look of what the city's financial department looks like. I can also say that the finance department uses a lot of Excel. Knowing that the city must be transparent with everything they do is essential to keep an open book, and that starts with keeping records up to date and accurate. So naturally, some of the projects I worked on was updating cash flows for the arena and BCP daily, reconciling Parks and Rec vendor statements, and confirming that vendors were paid for their services and if any follow-ups were needed. I also worked on sending paper statements for any outstanding payments. I was able to look at older spreadsheets and catch errors in entered information, a skill that I learned from this internship. The coolest project, however, was when I got firsthand experience implementing a new accounting standard in this fiscal year's audit. Some of the tasks that I was assigned to, I was able to pick up quickly because I had taken an accounting class in high school, but implementing a new accounting standard was completely new. It was beneficial for me to have this knowledge of accounting and personal finance from past experiences in classes and its application in the financial field. This internship has shown me the converging roads of finance and IT, two fields that I'm very interested in. I'm studying computer science at Illinois State with hopes to minor in accounting or business administration. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Victor Fernandez, and I work under Sergeant Nowers in the Police Department's Community Engagement Unit. And for the 40th time, I do not arrest people. Throughout the history of comic books, every superhero has a supervillain who harms their family or their friends or provides a huge challenge for them. Spider-Man has the Green Goblin, Batman has Joker, and the Bloomington Police Department has its very distant relationship it used to have with the community. Uh, while these superheroes use intricate devices, many of which I'd probably like to take apart and look at really closely, the police department just uses the community engagement unit at events and with their community interactions. Usually you see the community engagement unit at events like maybe a nurse, like the Golden Cake Kiwanis, Faith in Action, and various daycares across the community. Usually you see police officers at like usually some of the worst times in your life. And sometimes it might be because you're the victim of a serious crime or someone you care about has been. And instead of seeing the police officers in such a dark light, you get to see a different side, a more personal side of the police department. During my time in this internship, I've been able to help at these various events and learn various interpersonal skills, many of which I've been able to use, including at the police department's student resource officer camp. During this camp, students that were entering middle school to entering their freshman year of high school were able to get to know their resource officers at their schools and be able to connect with them. This is vitally important because sometimes students have a rough day and they really just need someone to talk to. And throughout the school year, these students will be able to get to know their officers who work at their school and be able to trust an adult. Also, during this program, I got to take a lot of photos. As you can see, those are just a few of them, and most of them are photos that are with me, but some of them I've taken on my own. During this internship, I've been able to take a lot of my experience just on my own, having fun, taking photographs of my day-to-day life, and apply it to an internship where I can take photos of the Bloomington community. Usually on a daily basis, there's 3 places I usually spend my time: my house, my church, and the library. During this internship, I got to get past my limited social presence and be able to get to meet people who I probably would have never met. And not only did this opportunity empower me to like create these social connections with people outside of my normal life, this also allowed me to use these applications in the real world. As I returned to my school, I accepted a position on the campus activities board, allowing me to use all my knowledge I've learned from this internship and to apply it at my school to make it a more safer and inclusive community. And I'd like to end this by saying thank you to our officers who go around our community, making sure people are safe, and especially to Sergeant Nowers and the rest of the officers on the community engagement unit who make people smile in their day-to-day lives. Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Harden. I am the HR mentee for the Youth Enrichment Program, and I don't have too much to say about this program. This is my first year working in the program and my second year working for the city. I am very happy to be in this program. I learned a lot just from being in HR. Since I had to send a lot of different emails to a lot of different people, I need to learn how to speak more professionally in a more academic environment, in a more working environment. And it also helps me to get out more into my community, learn how to communicate properly with everyone in different aspects and scenarios. I was able to go to a few different construction sites, both to supervise and to learn. There's a lot more I can learn from being in the field rather than just sitting behind a desk all day. And that's something I feel human resources really provided me with and helped me to really expand on myself about. And overall, I can't be any more thankful for this opportunity. It was just really great, and I'm really glad I joined.
Hello, my name is Faith Hughes. This summer I had the privilege to intern at the zoo under the guidance of Mrs. Sylvia. Throughout the internship, I engaged in impactful work for our city, with each day bringing new and diverse challenges. I gained valuable insights into the inner workings of the zoo and the essential roles of its support staff. One of the most beneficial experiences I had was hosting an event, Flapjacks and Flamingos, for 70 people. I learned everything from planning to introducing the event to interacting with the guests and ensuring a pleasant experience for all those who were in attendance, while I also oversaw the volunteers. I developed skills in flexibility, teamwork, problem solving, and leadership. Additionally, I learned to use new apps like Canva for creating flyers and graphics that I applied to my events. My varied tasks included preparation for an AVA recertification for the zoo, as well as designing an online library cataloging system through Librica. I've also contributed to enhancing the zoo's appearance, which has garnered positive feedback from visitors who noticed improvements and appreciated the beautiful flowers. Lastly, I learned the essence of servant leadership from Mrs. Sylvia, who prioritized the needs of the zoo staff and assisting them whenever possible. I have truly enjoyed and look forward to working every day this summer. Thank you for this opportunity to share my experience.
My name is Sun Kim. I had the privilege of being the second HR intern with Miss Jenny Smith. A few key takeaways that I had was I was able to further develop my effective communication skills and how to speak concisely and respectfully to citizens that might come in. One way that I felt I was able to most directly serve the community was by directly answering people's emails. And sometimes I would be like, do I really have to do this? But then I would get a happy response back saying how much they appreciated it. And then that kind of made me realize that even though human resources is kind of like something that people don't really appreciate sometimes or gets a bad rap, just want to give a shout out to the people that are doing the tasks that might be behind the scenes, like Nicole, who's here tonight, or the other members of our HR department, because I truly learned how to be a more professional and respectful citizen and just engage with people in a way that I've never seen before. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Hope Lehman, and this summer I had the opportunity to be an intern at the city clerk's office. In my time during the department, I learned many different things, including what the department actually does, which was entering FOIA requests, all the documents that they have to keep, the reports and licensings for different companies, as well as professional business communication, whether that was through answering phones, which I did on a day-to-day basis, or through meetings that we had, or just emails in general. I was not only greatly impacted by my time in the city clerk's department, but it was also a blessing to be able to give back to the community by volunteering at Abundant Life Thrifts with everyone here. It was also fun to be able to answer questions and be able to help those who were looking for answers. In conclusion, the Youth Enrichment Program is an amazing resource to young adults and teens who are looking to grow in their knowledge of not only the city of Bloomington, but also the careers that may be in their future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Delaney Owens, and during my time in public works, I learned that having good communication skills and good time management skills are very beneficial for getting your job done efficiently. I think that I made an impact because public works was about a year behind on crash reports, and I helped them catch all the way back up. It took me about 9 hours to complete each month because there are a couple hundred car crashes that happen in just Bloomington alone. And whenever I wasn't doing crash reports, I was printing labels and scanning tickets. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jada, and I was assigned to work in the city clerk's department. I learned a lot of different things, but the main one was how important communication is in the workplace, especially when it comes to asking questions, because I found that was how I improved in my position. And I do feel like I've made an impact on my community, especially on Volunteer Day, because the regular volunteers there were really grateful for our time that we spent volunteering. And the main thing I did in my position was update our SharePoint and make information more accessible for internal employees. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Winter, and this summer I interned with our engineering department. I worked primarily in our utility maintenance contract, which is mostly overseeing repairs to all of our underground infrastructure here in town, including our sewer systems and our stormwater systems. And I think that really just made me appreciate how much goes into a city's infrastructure that you don't see, how much behind the scenes that there is, and how much hard work goes into maintaining it, and how very important it is to maintain it, because when we don't, we see these, massive repairs that are needed. So it was really important to see that there's so much going on underground that's not super exciting or glamorous to fix and update, but it does keep all of us maintaining our day-to-day lives like as we want to live. It keeps our running water, it keeps our toilets and showers running, keeps our, homes from flooding, and it's very important. So thank you.
Well, I know we're all sweating, so I'll make my final comments quick. Next slide, please. So we every year have done a public safety day. This year, we invited in the American Red Cross, exposed the youth to some CPR training. Want to give a huge shout out to our fire department, our police department. They spent a whole day with the youth, taught them, well, they did a lot of different simulations. I won't go into all the details, but I think it was, and always is, a very exciting day for our youth. Next slide, please. We did incorporate, there's a few more pictures from Public Safety Day. And we did incorporate a volunteer day this year, which is something that we will continue to grow on. So with Abundant Life, as you heard from some of our presentations already, went in and did some cleaning duties, helped out in the thrift store. So just gave them a little bit of different view of what can happen in public service. So super excited about continuing that type of activity in the future. And I think our last slide is just another picture from our volunteering. So just wrap up real quickly saying how much I appreciate your support, City Manager Jurgens. I know this is a program that you're super supportive of, and thankful to our youth for coming in and doing your presentations. You all did a wonderful job, and we just appreciate you so much. So thank you.
And Nicole, just a quick question. How do they get recruited if someone wants to
Absolutely.
participate?
So we start in January with getting some notices out. We reach out to the youth organizations, the schools in the community. There's an application process. It's not an easy Maybe they would tell you it was easy. I don't think it's easy. They have to go through an interview process, which is time consuming. We treat them as a seasonal employee, so they get to experience all that pre-employment paperwork. And then we do an orientation with them. So this is a selection process. Yeah,
Okay.
but we push information out as early as we can in the year because we know that as students, their spring is super busy. So we want to get them in, get them processed, get them set up for success, usually start in June.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. Definitely appreciate it. Appreciate the staff that has invested quite a bit of time. It's not easy to have to do your work, but also mentor other people.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate the work that you've done all summer. And maybe we'll see you in a few years as city employees.
Absolutely. Yep. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yes,
Yep.
awesome.
All right.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it. So I think next we are on public comment, correct? Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have 5 people registered for public comment, and then we received 2 emailed public comments.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the city council. It is also an opportunity for the city council to listen and hear diverse points of view. To maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views, speakers should maintain civility and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time seized.
We had 2 emailed public comments. They were from Bobby Varicella and Robbie Osenga. And then we have 6 in-person public comments, not 5. First one up is Tim Tilton.
Thank you, council. This is a commentary to be in favor of the TIF programs for our community, and I want to make that clear on the outset. TIF creates a great number of long and short-term benefits for our communities. Some of these TIF benefits include reduced or zero tax increases, increased property values, private investment and development, new jobs, job retention, job training programs, stronger and broader tax bases, a strong economic base, locally controlled development, incremental revenue and reinvestment in the TIF district, and stimulates investment outside TIF and the boundaries surrounding. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Next up, we have Jamie Matthew.
Got to raise this a little bit, Tim. Hi, guys. How you doing? Jamie Matthew. I own Red Raccoon Games, and I'm here in support of the TIF district. I was thinking about the history of Bloomington, and literally the history of Bloomington is people who have reshaped the entire United States of America, right? Adlai Stevenson, Judge David Davis, Abraham Lincoln. And for 100 years, downtown was the cultural heart of Bloomington. And then we got to the mall era of the 1960s. All the businesses moved out. We had to launch a TIF district in 1990, I think it was 90 or 91, just to save the buildings from falling to pieces. We lost the East Block that was right across the museum. It's now Heartland Bank. We lost that entire block. We almost lost the South Block where Abraham Lincoln and Judge Davis actually worked and practiced law. So much history was almost lost, but that TIF district spent 23 years just trying to save those buildings. Everything went into making sure they didn't fall apart. And a generation of people like the Tiltons Daryl Hartwig, Steve Wanamaker, Fred Woolrap saved so many buildings that were just going to literally collapse in on themselves. Now we're ready for that next phase of downtown. We've stabilized things. The buildings are doing okay. There's a new generation of building owners who are, excuse me, who have taken responsibility for these buildings and are fixing things. We really need the city to come in and the streetscape, right? We need that outdoor things. We've done the buildings. We can't touch the sidewalks. We can't touch the trees and the roads and everything else that needs to be happening to push the city forward. I mean, things got so bad for a while, we actually were written off of the Route 66 maps. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. They actually said, get on the interstate at the north end of Normal and drive around us, get off on the south end and go on down towards Shirley. We fixed that. It took 10 years to get put back on the Route 66 maps. I had folks in my store last week from Romania who were driving the entire length of Route 66. So the tourism aspect, the history aspect, and just the cultural aspect, the Tom Petty experience that was Saturday downtown had 4,000 or 5,000 people sitting out there and enjoying the music. We need the city council to step up and do the next step to make downtown thriving again. And that's the streetscaping plan and paying for it using the TIF district. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mike Rakes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Rakes. I'm resident here in Bloomington. I'm also president of the McLean and Livingston County Building and Construction Trades. So thank you, Mayor and council members, for allowing me to address you this evening. As you can see, it's very important to the labor community that reside here in Bloomington on one of the agenda items tonight. I'd like to encourage you to support and vote yes on agenda item 9F, an ordinance amending chapter 16 of the city code regarding public works contracts and project labor agreements. Project labor agreements are pre-hire agreements that establish terms and conditions of employment for all crafts on infrastructure projects. The mutual agreements are between a construction owner, such as a contractor, a developer, or a public body, and a coalition of labor unions supplying skilled workers for the duration of the project. The main purpose of a PLA is to promote predictability, stability, and productivity on construction projects. PLAs ensure that taxpayer-funded projects utilize apprentices and expand work opportunities for people from historically disadvantaged backgrounds. Recently, the Illinois Economic Policy Institute performed a study titled "The Impacts of Project Labor Agreements on Competition, Costs, Apprenticeship, and Diversity." The study concluded that there were more contractor bids on PLA projects on average than projects that didn't have a PLA attached. There's no evidence that construction costs are higher on projects with a PLA than those that don't. PLA projects are more diverse and utilize more apprentices to complete the projects. By voting yes and supporting this ordinance is a vote to support the local construction workforce in our community. Construction workers who choose to go into a professional trade, study, and work as an apprentice to hone their skills they need to build our community will have the ability to work on projects that their tax dollars fund. On behalf of hundreds of unions, construction workers in Bloomington, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Serena Fish.
Hello, I'm Serena Fish. I'm head of West Side Neighbors, member of Miller Park Neighbors, and on the PSCRB Police Board. A couple of things. One, I want to thank the city manager for clearing out the tents and all of the problems on the Constitution Trail over by the cemetery. It has been cleaned out. Thank you very, very much. We're all in the community looking forward to seeing what happens to the next segment. A lot of them relocated back on the asphalt, We'll see. I want to talk about an event that was done by the Pantograph locally last Thursday at one of the local restaurants. And it was for community members. It was basically Ward 6 and 1, but West Side. It was very informative. A lot of it was community coming to them with what they wanted to see, what they wanted to hear, what they wanted to read, and their problems. Most of it was city and streets. A lot of it, because I was there and I'm on the police review board, was also about the flock cameras and different things. So I was able to give some additional information to people. It was an extremely good hour or so. And unfortunately, none of my city representatives showed up. So I had to answer a lot of questions. The only one that did show up was Mr. Brady, who never misses an opportunity. It was a great, great community get together. The last thing is the project labor agreement tonight. First of all, I commend you for getting this straightened out, written in the correct language, and we can go forward. A year ago, we didn't go forward because of the carriage house, that whole thing, the city church, and there was, because some of it was disagreements with labor and stuff. So I want to make it perfectly clear. I am 100% for labor because we can't do it without them. However, there are people on this console who are taking donations, and I feel they should recuse themselves this evening from voting. If I was on the console, I would
Mayor?
vote yes.
Mayor,
No
past the
question.
3
Yeah,
minutes.
time. Thank you.
We have 2 more people. I apologize. Next up, we have Jason Francis.
Good evening. My name is Jason Francis, and I'm here, and I want to implore you to vote for the PLA. The PLA will ensure local workers are used on local projects, which means money earned on these projects by local labor will be spent locally. That's huge. A person who is earning that money may be able to purchase a new home, a new car, home improvement, new vehicles, eating an extra meal out a week. And in return, these monies earned by local labor will be able to support other workers in the community. As you can see, there's many labor members here tonight. And it's important to everyone here, labor members, as you can see. Simply put, the approval of the PLA is an investment within the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Last up, we have Patrick Hoban.
Hello, Patrick Hoban. I'm the CEO of your EDC, also a member of the CEO Council, and more importantly, a resident. Some of you may not know that I'm actually working on a PhD in business psychology, which is focusing on the value of time as it relates to environmental psychology. Not time value of money, but the actual value of time. So how much income we make for the amount of time that we work to earn that. Now, the value of time matters because we can choose how and, more importantly, where we spend our time. You and I, actually all of us right now, are investing our time tonight to discuss an opportunity to enhance our environmental psychology, which is how we shape our natural and built environments and how those environments shape us. In other words, the interplay between the spaces and faces. Now that's important right now because I know our population has gone up over the last couple of years, but we do need to break that down. We've actually gained 8,000 people over the age of 65, and we've lost 6,000 people under the age of 65. That's a problem when we think about our future workforce. Now, if you want more faces, invest in our physical environment and throw more awesome concerts like Saturdays on the Square. And invest in redeveloping our downtown like our neighbors to the north. You don't have to drive too far to see the difference a TIF can make. As economic developers, we want as many tools in our toolbox to beautify and diversify our economy as possible. And I fully support investing in the heart of our community with this downtown TIF. Thank you.
Thank you. We're done, correct?
Yes, that was all of them.
Okay, so we're moving on to public hearing. And public hearings, item 7A for the program year 2023 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report as requested by the Economic and Community Development Department. And I'm going to go ahead and call to order the hearing at it looks like 6:47, and ask for Melissa. Oh, she's right there. Okay, all right. Thank you. If you could go ahead and give us your presentation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. So I'm here tonight to talk about the CAPER, or the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report that we must file every year with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Next slide, please. So on April 30th, 2024, we finished the 49th year that the City of Bloomington has been implementing the CDBG program. With this program, we must meet one of the three national objectives in the ways that we implement the funding. So that is either to benefit low to moderate income persons, prevent or eliminate slum or blight conditions, or meet emergent community needs. And we are an entitlement community, which means that we don't have to competitively apply every year for this funding. Next slide, please. So this CAPER that we are filing with Housing and Urban Development and that this public hearing is on is for the 2023 program year, which was May 1 of 2023 through April 30th of 2024. It really just provides a snapshot of our performance regarding the annual action plan that we also provide every year to Council and to HUD. So this was the fourth year of our current consolidated plan. As you're all aware, we are currently doing outreach right now for our next consolidated plan. That's been going extremely well. We are well above goal for outreach, and we will continue to do that. For the current program year of 2023, we spent a little over $700,000. Next slide, please. And with that funding, as you can see, we were able to do rehabilitation of 8 owner-occupied units. We were able to provide 1 accessibility ramp installation, 1 water sewer service for a new affordable housing unit. We were able to do 1 demolition, 6 public service projects, 1 public facility improvement, 1 sidewalk improvement, job training, Section 3 job training, our fair housing program, and the community planning project. Next slide, please. This is the breakdown of the funding. So as you can see, 48% was spent on the housing rehabilitation activities. Demolition activities was about 2.9% of the funding, public service and about 9.4%, public facility and infrastructure about 29%, fair housing, community planning, Section 3 activities about 7% of the funding, and administration 3%. Total activity funding related to housing was for over $450,000. Next slide, please. So the public comment period for the CAPER has been available since July 9th, and community members can provide public comment up until July 25th. A draft CAPER is available on our website. It is available at the hub, at the library and in the Economic and Community Development Department, which is on the second floor of this building. Public comment can also be submitted via email or by phone. For questions, William's contact is there and he can be contacted if any further information is needed. And with
Okay.
that, all I
Thank you,
have.
Melissa.
Thank you.
At this time, we will ask anyone from the public that wants to testify to come forward. Individuals will be allowed to speak only once, and we ask that you keep your remarks reasonably short so that we can get through everyone that desires to speak. Is there anybody that was registered to testify?
We did not have anybody registered.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to testify that hasn't registered? Okay. Doesn't sound like there's anybody. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:52. And we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion. Okay, motion by Councilmember Bolin and second by Councilmember Ward. And we are
Using
voting.
your clickers.
Yes, clickers.
I have no clicker, but I'll say yes.
Okay.
Motion passes, Mayor.
Okay, motion passes. There are no nays to announce. And now we are going to move to the regular agenda. Item 8A, a consideration and action on an intergovernmental agreement concerning the proposed downtown TIF as requested by the Economic and Community Development Department. And I know we have several items on the TIF, but I just wanted to make just some general comments. And I think, that those comments echo, what's been heard already. I think our downtown has been underperforming for quite a while. And, despite the valiant efforts of many, but I think this gives us really an opportunity to do better. I'm very excited about this particular opportunity, and things are coming together at the right time, not only with the streetscape, but also with the TIF. I've been around the country quite a bit and seen many downtowns that are appealing, and this is definitely our chance to be able to do that. So I want to thank the staff for all the work that's been done. I know we spend oftentimes about 30 minutes, or an hour at council, but there's quite a bit of work that goes into all of it. So with that, I'll turn that over to City Manager Jurgens for some initial remarks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the mayor said tonight, we've got actually 5 different items that are related to the downtown TIF. And so in a second, I'll turn it over to Melissa Hahn, our Director of Economic and Community Development, and Megan Lamb, our TIF attorney. They will be happy to answer any questions. They can walk through the different ordinances. What I'm going to ask Melissa to do is to walk through each of the ordinances. Then we will take them one at a time to vote on them, but they'll walk through them and you can ask questions and then we'll begin the voting. The first one, before I turn it over, I just wanted to say we're going to lead off with a ordinance. It's actually an intergovernmental agreement with District 87. We worked very hard with the individuals at District 87 to come up with an agreement that helped pave the way for this downtown TIF. It will actually help all of the taxing bodies that are part of the TIF, so we're very excited about that. This is a new type of agreement. The city has not done anything like this before, and so we're very excited about that. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Thank you, and good evening again, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. So the item before you, the first item before you, regular agenda item A, is the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Bloomington and District 87. At our first joint review board meeting on June 3rd, the district brought up some concerns that they had regarding the downtown TIF. Because of those raised concerns, we did go back and started speaking to them about what those concerns were and how we could mitigate that. So some of their concerns included any additional students being added to the district, as well as the property at 201 East Front Street, because there was already a current redevelopment agreement on the property at that time. So the city did facilitate through our attorney, Megan Lamb, to work with District 87 to come up with terms that were in accordance with the TIF Act. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Megan to talk about those items outlined in the IGA.
Hello. Okay, it is on. Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Lamb. I'm the TIF attorney. I'll just quickly walk through the IGA with you. So the IGA basically, as Melissa said, it removes the 201 Front Street parcel since that was already part of an agreement, an earlier agreement between the city and the school district. Additionally, the members of the Joint Review Board, which includes the city, the school district, township, county, other taxing bodies agreed to get together during the 11th year of the TIF district and evaluate the performance of the TIF district at that time and whether or not any modifications to the TIF district itself would be needed. And there is a threshold, which I did not write down in my notes, but I have in the agreement. Let me see. Yes, a threshold, during that reevaluation, there is a threshold of $5 million. We need to see $5 million in EAV growth over the first 10 years of the TIF district. If that has not happened, then 50% of the increment that would be going into the TIF fund would go to the taxing districts. And that is divided amongst them pro rata as taxes are, as property taxes are. Additionally, on top of that 11th year review, we have agreed if there is new student growth within the TIF district to work with the school district to try to find ways to help alleviate the school district's financial burden because of those new students. We did not write anything specific in this IGA regarding that, because the TIF Act itself is very specific and narrow on what sort of relief we can provide for students. So this way we can look at creative solutions if that does become an issue. Additionally, the city is limited to spending 20% of the increment gained on streetscape and 20% of the increment gained on infrastructure. If the city wishes to spend more than the 20 and 20%, they would need the permission of the Joint Review Board. And there is a surplus written into the agreement. On year 5 of the redevelopment plan, the taxing bodies would get 5% of the increment back. Year 10, they would get 5% back. And then starting in year 11, it would be an annual payment, 10% for years 11 through 14, 30% year 15, 25% years 16 through 19, 55% year 20, 50% years 21 through 23. And the reason why we see like the up, down percentages is because we had originally baked a 5% increment into this IGA, and then we had come up with the schedule. So, or 5% every 5 years, and then we had come up with the schedule. So as a way of just consolidating those two surplus payments into like one schedule. That's the nuts and bolts of the agreement between the two bodies. Do you guys have any questions about the agreement?
Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Oh, thank you.
So item B will be consideration and action on an ordinance to terminate the downtown Southwest TIF district. This TIF district was established in 2016. These properties will be incorporated within the new proposed TIF district. So by bringing those into the new TIF and dissolving or terminating the current TIF, it'll allow further opportunity, time and opportunity for those properties to be redeveloped. Item C is consideration and action on an ordinance approving the TIF redevelopment project area plan and project, which is attached, and the consideration, and then item D is consideration and action on the ordinance designating the proposed downtown TIF area, the project area pursuant to the Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act. And then item E is the consideration and action on an ordinance adopting the tax increment allocation financing for the redevelopment project area. So those would be all the items related to the TIF, and either I, Megan, or I believe we also have Adam on the phone with PGAV as well. So he cannot be here tonight, but he is available by phone if there were any questions on the redevelopment plan.
Questions? Councilmember Motley?
I'd be happy to motion that we approve all 5 as presented.
I apologize. I'm going to be technical here. Because of
Each of
the
them.
way the TIF Act is structured, we do have to, unfortunately,
Okay.
individually approve every single item.
Well,
Sorry.
let's start with 9A.
I would second.
Okay.
You'll use your clickers to vote.
Yep.
Councilmember Ward, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, the item passes. No nays to announce. Item 5B, motion.
I'll
Same people?
move.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Ward, second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hendricks.
And I vote aye.
Okay, the item passes. No nays to announce. Moving on to 5C.
I'll motion. Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Hendricks, second by Councilmember Dannenberger. Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Donna,
I had some questions. I don't know if. Can
about
I have
this
some
specific,
Well, about TIF in general. So if before the next one.
or before the next one? Okay, all right. Okay, so the item passes. No nays to announce. Item 5D, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. I probably should have sent these. They're not difficult, I don't think. Why does the TIF district extend beyond the streetscape? Is there a particular reason that you're trying to capture different properties?
So when you're saying beyond the streetscape, are you referencing beyond, like it's going all the way up to the city-owned property at 800 Main and
Well, and rather far down on South Main. And then to the east, there's a large quadrant to the east that is, yeah.
to pick up those properties that are referenced as being deteriorating? So when PGAV came up to do the study, I mean, they went through and looked at where we have vacant property, such as the city-owned vacant property, that, we are marketing for redevelopment. So in order to further induce, private investment there, as well as down south, there are some vacant commercial properties that are needing to be redeveloped as well.
So this is kind of like the warehouse district, so to speak, or not really?
No, as far as like how south it comes. Mhm.
Okay. And this too is a quick question, institutional property that's located on the far west side. It's like at the end of the little arm that sticks out. I don't. It doesn't really matter. I was just looking at all the different codes, just color,
I have it with me.
the legend. Right here.
Melissa, can you see
Melissa,
that?
can you see?
The one that's kind of sticking out, looks like a boot.
Yeah, there's like commercial right here.
It was listed as institutional. Now, I'm trying to think if it was St. Mary's or some other church or something on the
Yeah.
legend. It doesn't really matter. I just, I was, why would that particular property be included?
Yeah, and without knowing the
Address.
exact address, yeah, it would be difficult for me to
Okay.
speak to, but I'm assuming once again, it was due to the state of the building and the surrounding area.
Okay, okay. And then I have a comment to make. Well, a question and then a comment. How are the at-large citizen representative on the board chosen? I mean, I know why the taxing body representatives would be on the review board, but how is the, citizen chosen?
For the public participant, is
Right,
that what you're
right.
referring to? Just the request of staff for a public participant and preferably somebody that lives within that proposed project area.
Okay, so it would be required that they live within the project area?
Yes, under the TIF Act, because of the amount of housing that was affected in this TIF district, it is required, and I'll get to my air quotes in a second, it is required that the public member be a resident of the TIF district or of the proposed district. I air quote that because the act does go on to say then that if you can't find anyone in the area who's willing to participate,
Okay.
you could go with anybody.
Okay. Learn something new every day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, okay, Councilmember Hendricks and then Councilmember Becker. Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Okay, the item passes. No nays to announce. And then we're gonna move on to item 5E.
I'll move approval.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Ward,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Crumpler. And if everybody could vote,
I vote aye.
okay, awesome. All right, the item passes and there are no nays to announce. Thank you. And now we're gonna move on to item. Is it 5? 8F. 9F, sorry, 9F, okay. And a consideration action on an ordinance amending chapter 16 of the city code regarding public works contract and project labor agreements. Something that we had already discussed last week during our committee of the whole. And I understand that there might have been some maybe minor modifications, but generally I think this all works for everybody. So I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Gleason for. Oh, sorry. Okay, super duper manager
Yeah.
Jurgens. Jeez. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor
Jeez.
Brenner and council. This is a continuation of the discussion we had at the committee of the whole and excited to hopefully bring this to fruition tonight. I want to thank, actually all day today, I was thinking, in between meetings, I was thinking I need to call Mike Rakes or send him an email, make sure he's here in case there are questions. I guess he already had it on his schedule to be here tonight. So appreciate everybody coming and attending this meeting. After the last meeting, Councilmember Bolin had a couple of suggested language changes. We worked with Mike Rakes and the laborers to make sure that was language that would work for all the parties, and it did. So that's the updated language that's in the agreement tonight. Just want to say, when I took over this has been about a year in the making, and when I took over as city manager in early May, this was one of my top priorities. And Mike Rakes, Ronnie Paul, others were great to work with and really come to the table. And we ended up utilizing a model ordinance that's in place in the city of Springfield. And so that's what this is modeled after. It's working for them. I think it's going to work very well for our community, and we're very excited to get this across the finish line tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
I don't think those don't look like questions or
Questions, comments?
comments. Do you want to make a motion or?
I'll move approval.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Ward and then second by Councilmember Hendricks. Questions?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to show my appreciation to City Manager Jurgens and my conversation with Mike. I appreciate that. Since I had requested some amendments, it did not really affect the content. It just made it more clear of responsibilities. The city going forward in the next 20 years is going to be spending about $1 billion on infrastructure. All of that will be paid with prevailing wage. What is most important to me in this ordinance, I see that young guy chuckling over there, is the apprenticeship program. Because if we don't have young people to take over, we're going to be in big trouble. I was told by a contractor that for every 5 that are retiring, and I see some here that are ready to retire, only, not you, the guy behind you, you know. No. For every 5 that are going to be retiring, only 2 are entering the trades, and we need skilled tradesmen. So get out there and train as many people and recruit as many people as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gun shy about calling people's names now. So we had a motion and a second, so I think we're ready to vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the item passes. There are no nays to announce. Congratulations, all. Normally, I would ask everyone to be quiet, but not this time. Okay, so we are, thank you all very much. We are moving on to the next item, which is item G, a consideration and action on a resolution setting housing priorities related to the affordability of the current housing stock in the city of Bloomington as requested by the administration department. And I'm gonna turn it over to City Manager Jurgens for some remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few quick remarks. If you can pull up my presentation. This is a conversation we've started in May. We've had several conversations about it. And I wanted to, before we get to the resolution, just kind of take a step back. Been working with some of the realtors, talking about some of the data, and wanted to take a step back and talk about how this is not just a city of Bloomington or a Town of Normal issue or a McLean County issue. Housing is really a crisis all across our country, and really started in 2008. I thought this graph does a great job of showing how this started and where we are today. This graph is the state of Illinois, and it shows the building permits. And you see the high in 2008, and then you see the very stark drop off and really kind of plateaued after that. So we are really down in the number of permits and the number of housing. But again, it's not just Illinois. And if you go to the next slide, please. they provided me with some graphs of our neighboring states. And so you have up here, you know, Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Missouri, Kentucky. And you can see that everybody had a sharp decline in 2008. And everybody's really struggled to get those increases, although one could argue that the state of Illinois and in our state, we've maybe struggled a little bit more than some of the others. But I wanted to share this because really this is a national issue and states all over are dealing with this. Was at a chamber event recently where we were talking with individuals from West Michigan. They're working on a 53,000 unit housing shortage. They've got a metro population of about 1.5 million, so they're obviously bigger than us, but a 53,000 housing unit shortage. And if you go to the next slide, just trying to get some, you know, data, you know, quickly that I was able to find shows some of the differences of the different, you know, what nationally we're looking for or what we're looking at in terms of a housing shortage. And at the low end, you see 1.5. At the high end, you see 7.3 million nationwide. All of these studies use different factors and different metrics to come up with the number of units that they think we need nationally, but it is a national issue. And so I titled this presentation A National Issue with a Local Focus. So if you go to the next slide, what is our focus? And so tonight you've got an opportunity to approve a resolution that would set forth the priorities of this city council and what you want to do in terms of housing. Those four priorities are to create a standardized housing incentive, to really develop a robust housing rehabilitation program, to focus on intergovernmental cooperation with our other units of local government, the town, the county, the sanitary sewer district, the school districts, to really focus with them to help. And then finally, the fourth priority would be to review our zoning code and subdivision code to make sure they are at the level that we want them to, given the current situation. This resolution, just a couple of notes, it's not exclusive. It encourages staff to continue to look for other solutions, but it does essentially take off the shelf one of the ideas that was raised early on, which was to try and create a low interest loan program. One of the things I've learned in working with other communities is the communities that have created such a program use their ARPA funds, and they were able to grab maybe 10 or $15 million as seed money for a program like that. We just don't have that in this community. We've used our ARPA money in other ways. This resolution also requires regular reporting and updates to the council. And then finally, it provides that we'll bring all the financial considerations back to the council. We will fully vet those and bring those back to the council as we bring the programs forward. So tonight, again, you've got for consideration a potential resolution to set your priorities. But at the end of the day, this is the council's prerogative. You can give direction to staff as to how you want us to approach the housing issue. This is our suggestion, though, and what we would bring forward for your consideration.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Councilmember Boland and then second by Councilmember Hendricks. Are there questions?
I just had one question, really. With four priorities laid out, and I guess I'm making an assumption, these are listed in priority order.
No, that's a great question. These are all things that we would tackle at the same time. So my intention would be to have a group working on the standardized housing incentive, have another group working on the rehabilitation program. We've working actually with the BNEDC. They have individuals that review zoning codes and subdivision codes. I think that would be a heavy lift for us to internally do that with staff. So we would probably look at some outside assistance with that. And then the intergovernmental collaboration, that's already underway and people are already starting to work on what that's going to look like.
In light of the feedback that was shared with us from the meetings that have taken place, I recall that the participants didn't raise the code issues as being their primary concern. But I do see this housing rehabilitation opportunity as one where we could make a visible difference in this community. And I think it would be a quick win. So I just wanted to call that out. Thank you.
you. Councilmember Crumpler?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. These are all important items for us to address. In general, what's your sense of a timeline? Do you expect to bring this forward this summer, more like in the fall? Would you comment, please?
Yeah, that's another great question. So one of the things the resolution does is require us to provide what we will do as monthly updates, probably at the committee of the whole. And we'll talk a little bit more as we get into this as to what we're finding and when we expect to have some of this ready. But at this point, I'm hoping we're talking months rather than, probably not weeks, but probably a month or two until we have something solid to bring back to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ward has her hand raised.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Ward?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to echo the particular interest in the housing rehabilitation item and wanted to simply say that I think we do have quite a few options out there for people. I think one of the things that would be really good to focus our energy on with regard to housing rehabilitation is the way we market those and make them known to the community. I think sometimes it's kind of word of mouth, it's individual people reaching out to individual people, and sometimes that's necessary. And I don't discount how important that is, but I think that there are some things that we could perhaps tighten up in terms of the way that we make the resources known to the community that are already out there, the funds that we have.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee?
Yes, Jeff, you mentioned seeking outside help for one of the items. Are these local organizations or has there been any initial legwork on trying to identify like who these organizations are and where they're from?
Sure. And I'll clarify that, Councilmember Lee. So with the code review, the B and EDC already has somebody that helps with those types of issues. So that would be our initial conversation to see if that's a good fit. And no reason to suspect it will not, but that's where we'll likely go for that. With the others, my intention is to be internally focused. We'll probably call for some help, as we need it. From outside, but I think that internal staff can, obviously with the help with some experts, we've had a lot of people who have shown a lot of interest in this, a lot of assistance from local realtor groups, even the trades, other developers and contractors. So we've got a good list of people that are interested in helping us solve the problems. And so we will utilize that, but I see this as being staff driven, trying to come up with what that standard incentive is going to look like and what that robust rehabilitation program is going to look like.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we are ready to vote.
Aye.
Yes. Okay, the item passes. No nays to announce. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to the Finance Director's report. Did you want to? Okay, all right. So we're gonna go straight to you because the city manager does not want me to say his name, mess it up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, community. This is the third look at FY '24. I've said this, Chris probably said it last month, but this time of the year, we have a revenue recognition lag with many of our larger revenues. So we're kind of transitioning from one fiscal year to the next. So it makes more sense for us to do a review of the prior fiscal year for a couple of months and then move into the next fiscal year after we have some data. So, the first look looks so good. We thought we'd give it to you 3 times. So this will be the final one for FY '24. And then we'll do a wrap on FY '24 with the audit, a report in November or late October, probably November timeframe. The audit is still going on, so there still could be some changes, but we don't anticipate any material adjustments to the financials, and nothing of material has really occurred since the last presentation. So having said that, I'm going to try to connect the dots a little bit on some of the larger items. Next slide, please. So the major tax revenues, we go over this every month. This is a big discussion point every budget cycle. So we've been zeroing in on that $10+ million revenue variance, positive variance. As I've said, and I'm sure Chris said last month, we incorporated this $10 million variance into the FY25 budget. So we were trending high for the last couple of years. During FY24, we thought we were zeroing in on that $10 million variance. So we incorporated in FY25, and that was used up, to not use a technical term. Primarily, we did an additional $2.5 million subsidy transfer to the Streets and Sidewalks Fund. Public safety pensions went up about $2.5 million, $2.4 million, and without a levy increase. So we funded that with this additional revenues. And then we have been talking about the staff increases, most notably towards the end of the budget cycle, we added 9 for public safety, not to pick on public safety. But those 3 big categories really kind of ate up that $10 million positive revenue variance. Next slide, please. So the general fund, as a reminder, our largest fund for FY25, it's $140 million budget. You can see that the revised budget for FY24 was 146. We did a few amendments during the year, specifically for some transfers for Locust Colton. But we're coming in primarily, you can see our budget was $99.8 million for tax revenues, but we're showing the $110.7 million variance. So, that's where that $10 million is being reflected. This number, the projected year end, the $139 million, that's up about $400,000 from last month. So we, with some of our audit adjustments, we're adjusting, and so far they've been positive. Next slide, please. So for the expenditures, no material, hardly any change at all from last month. We were $141.9 million in the projected year end. And so we have an ending reserve balance right now projected of nearly $50 million. Last month, it was $49.5 million. So that's the $400,000 to $500,000 increase that I was just speaking to, that we've adjusted revenues by. So that's a healthy reserve balance. Already, with our FY25 budget, we had almost $9 million budgeted for use of reserves related to non-recurring large equipment expenditures. If you recall, I discussed how we moved some of the fire apparatus forward because of the build time requirements. And then we have some large capital expenditures that are kind of above our normal $2 million. So together with the Public Works campus, that we're discussing purchasing, the nursery, I'm going to round that up to $6 million. So about $9 million in the budget plus $6 million for the nursery. That's already $15 million of these reserves that have been targeted for use. So, down to $35 million. And then other things that are being discussed, obviously in front of council and the community, is the money that's going to be needed for addressing our downtown. We have the Market Street garage, with potential Connect Transit coming in, fire stations, et cetera. So those reserves, very important to the city and the community, and it will be utilized in the future. Next slide, please. So enterprise fund summary, hardly any change at all from last month. We're going to highlight solid waste for this month's enterprise fund highlight. We're showing a $3.3 million ending reserve balance there, but we're going to be adjusting and utilizing cash from some prior year POs in the lease fund. It's kind of complicated as far as like how we do our accounting in the lease fund. We budget our solid waste. It doesn't have enough cash really to cover large capital equipment expenditures into the lease fund, but we did end up with the cash available. So that's going to be coming down by about 1.7 million, that 3.2 to 1.5. So that is a significant decrease, but still a good reserve balance for that fund. Next slide, please. So to highlight the solid waste fund, we've gone over this fund before. We're cycling through them again. If Chris were here, I'd give him a big pat on the back because, you can see our charges for services revised budget was 8.3 million, and we're coming in at 8.321 million. I mean, that is right on target. we have so many residents within the community, there is growth. So usually there is some variability to that number, but that's pretty amazing that we came right in on budget at that 8.3 million. Fines and services or forfeitures, these are late fees and penalties on the utility accounts, 200,000, a little under budget. That's actually a good thing. That indicates, that we're not quite as heavy as we were in prior years on those fines and forfeitures. The community not struggling potentially to make those utility bill payments. Next slide, please. Solid waste expenditures. So kind of focusing on that revised budget remaining column. You can see that actually under in the salaries, vacancies throughout the year. So under in the benefits as well. Contractual shows under, and that's a year to date though. And if you look down under the year to date actual column, you can see a minus 286,000. Those are encumbrances. Those are things that are on purchase orders. So we have yet to get the invoice. So that's going to offset that 317. So that's a little bit more of a break even on that contractuals, which is mostly landfill and disposal fees. Then you can see commodities came in almost right on budget, and that's mostly related to fuel. For these enterprise funds, I'd like to give a little bit of a snapshot on the actual operating position of the fund, not a net position like their fund balance, but how are they from a financial stability standpoint. So the operating revenues, so if you just look at the charges for services and don't include investment income, well, include investment income, but not the sale for capital assets, we have about $8.5 million in operating revenues. And if you look at operating expenses, and that's a total expenses, but we're going to take out capital expenditures and debt. So like the principal expense and principal and interest expense, that's about 7.4 million in actual for the year. And so we're looking at about a $1 million surplus excluding capital equipment on the solid waste fund. So that may seem like a lot, but the solid waste fund capital equipment needs are very extreme. It's very expensive. The trucks are $400,000 a piece roughly. So, that's where, we, with this fund, and we have lease expenditures, the principal and interest expense, we typically budget utilizing the lease, but we haven't had to use that lease in the last couple of years. But this fund is kind of like, it's right there. It has a surplus, but it's tight related to those equipment needs. So just wanted to highlight that. Next slide, please. So just real quick, we've been covering the same information for 3 months in a row, except for kind of rotating through the enterprise funds. So just a couple of snapshots on revenues for FY25, and then next month you'll get the full major tax revenues. So home rule, I used the same exhibit last year. I wanted to kind of highlight to council, the community, some of the tracking that finance does and some of the budgeting detail that we go through. So, home rule is 2.5% on retail sales. 10% of our total home rule revenues go to streets and sidewalks. So we allocate that directly to streets and sidewalks fund, and 10% goes to the mental health, county mental health. So that gets stripped out. You can see the monthly budget, our total budget for FY25 is $30.3 million. So, 10% for home rule, or excuse me, 10% for streets and sidewalks comes off. So that's $3 million for streets and sidewalks. And then with streets and sidewalks, we have about $4.5 million for local motor fuel tax. And that's the 7.5 or so that I've been speaking of. And then a $2.5 million subsidy from the general fund gets us up to that $10 million streets and sidewalks budget for FY25. And then $3 million for the county mental health. You can see the variability that's built into the monthly budget column. So the lag in our revenues, I want to highlight this. I've gone through this a lot, but we have a sale in 1 month. The retailer remits to the state the following month. The state compiles the following month, and the state remits to us the month after that. So it's literally 3 months after the sale occurs that the city gets its cash. Our revenue recognition policy says that we only can accrue backwards 2 months. So what ends up happening is we have a 1 month difference. So that May number right there, that $2.5 million was really April sales. So if you look down the list, you can see that we have almost $3.2 million budgeted for January. That's really related to December sales, so the holiday season kind of reflected in that seasonality. In the worksheet that we maintain in finance, the history on this category goes back to 2005. So not that we have the complicated equations and everything rolling out these seasonalities, but that's the kind of history that we look at to determine, the activity on a month-to-month basis so that we can budget on a monthly basis throughout the year, so that when we're presenting to the community, we're not just straight lining it and at some points of the year looking like we're way above and then dipping potentially below. So May, where do we come in? Well, we had budgeted almost 2.5 million. It came at 2.44. So a $22,000 variance out of 2.5 million. That's really quite immaterial, I'd say. I'll highlight on that row, the state charges us a 1.5% service fee. So, last year it was $458,000 of our sales or home rule sales tax was paid to the state for processing our home rule. And then you can see that we look at comparisons to prior year. There's actually a lot of other detail on this worksheet as well. But last year for the month of May, we recognized 2.442. So almost the exact same number year over year. So we've had some inflation. It's calmed down a bit. But what we're seeing here is, we budgeted $10 million in extra revenues into FY25. Home rule sales tax is a large component of that. So far, so good. We got 1 month. It's early in the game. But so far, so good. Strong local economy. I'll probably say a few more things at the end. I'm getting a little long here about concerns going into FY25, economic instability related to the election, et cetera, that we could be confronted with. But so far, so good. Next slide. And then the other one we thought we just highlight is food and beverage. It's another indicator to me of how strong our local community is. The residents and how they feel about their financials. You can see that we've budgeted $6 million for FY25. The FY24 budget was 5.1 million. So we took that up 900,000. You can look over to the right. The year to date through FY24 was right at the 6 million. So we kept it flat. We did recognize the $900,000 over budget from the prior year, but we kept it even with what we recognized in FY24. And then as a reminder, food and beverage is a 2% addition to the total overall tax. So, 8.75 plus 2%, that's a 10.75% on food and beverage. So these revenues get backdated into the month in which they occur. The retailers and all of our local tax are required to file their returns with the city by the 25th of the following month that the sale occurred in. So I'll summarize just kind of the status I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And throughout the commentary about the general fund, we increased the revenue, we're recognizing $10 million in extra revenues. In FY24, we've incorporated the $10 million into our FY25 budget. We have about 3 large buckets that are utilizing that increase: streets and sidewalks, some public safety pensions, and extra staff. There's also inflation throughout the entire budget as well. And then going into FY25, we are seeing, at least initially, that those revenues are coming in as budgeted, as projected. So far, so good there. And then, viewing out into 25, some of the cautionary concerns would be, if there's any instability related to the election, the coming election. The Fed is talking about lowering interest rates potentially in September. And then, in a couple of years, we'll be looking at the repeal of the grocery tax, but at least we have some time on that, January of 2026. And we estimate that's between $2.5 to $3 million that the city earns related to that tax. Next slide, please. And finally, just remind the community that all the information related to the budget, lots of material is on the city's website. If you just go to the finance page, it's easily navigable from there. And that's it. I will pause and see if there are any questions.
Okay.
So I got long.
Any questions? Councilmember Monty?
Sure. First of all, thank you for the focus on the solid waste fund. It's great to see. I want to thank the staff and everyone who's worked on this because 3 years ago when I joined this council, that was one of the funds where we were looking to reduce services and pass on more costs to the public here. So thanks to everyone who turned that around to get us where we are regarding that. The second piece is just maybe a request for the future, if you could get this to us. We used some of the ARPA funds to accelerate the Locust Colton project. We also made decisions on this council to accelerate that project for the betterment of the community following the June 2021 floods. As a result of that, that really wasn't discretionary spending. That was us spending money that we would have had to spend by the end of 2029 anyway, because we were on a consent order, as I understand it, to do all of that work. So what I would love to see is how much have we already spent that we will not have to spend in the coming years? And let's capture that. Because I think that was a very fiscally responsible decision that was made by this council. And I would hate for, that pre-funding of that consent order work to just kind of get lost in the shuffle of the everyday management of our finances. I think we should set it aside and really understand that particular impact that we won't be having to spend because we've already made those repairs.
Councilmember Ward, questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to the city manager's discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. And if you can pull up my report and just stay on that first slide a second. This has been a big meeting. We've really accomplished a lot tonight, and this council has approved some really big items. The downtown TIF, getting the issue resolved with the project labor agreements, setting priorities on housing. A lot has been accomplished tonight, and I just want to take a second to recognize that. But none of this would have been accomplished without a great staff and a city staff. And so Senior Deputy City Manager Billy Tyus has played a huge role in a lot of this. Melissa Hahn is our Economic and Community Development Director, Scott Rathbun, legal, all the departments, they all play a huge role in this. So I just want to take a second to recognize them and express my appreciation. Next slide, please. And every meeting I try and touch at least a little bit on homelessness, and there really is a homelessness issue in our community. As I talked about housing, this is not just a issue that the city of Bloomington faces, though. This is an issue in all the communities across the country. And this is something that a lot of communities are seeing, are having increases in the homeless population. I think last week I announced that the street outreach positions are saying there are about 100 unsheltered individuals living within our community. And so this is something that I'm very proud that this group is getting together and really focusing on solutions and how to address this and how to be compassionate about it. But it is so great and heartening to see all of these nonprofits and all of these units of local government come together and really try and work on the issue. And again, as I've said many times, we need more shelter space. That's the long-term solution. We're zeroing in on that. I really hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that we'll have more to announce shortly on that. If you can go to the next slide. Again, I just want to thank our public work crews, our parks crews, for the portion of the trail that they cleaned up. And if you go to the next slide, I felt a little bit like my mom because I kept going down to the trail and I'd say, this looks really good, but let's come back out here and try again. And I did that 3 times. And I'm not a micromanager. I think anybody would tell you I'm not a micromanager. But it was really important for me to see this trail cleaned up. And it was also heartening to see every time I went down there, I saw people using the trail. I saw people biking. I saw people walking. Even today, when I drove by the properties, again, I saw people utilizing the trail. And I think that's very important. But I also think it's very important that we handle this with compassion. And so that's where the other service providers come in, and they really did a great job helping us. The police department did a great job. We're very compassionate with how they handled this. And that's why we've got to keep our foot on the gas to get this long-term solution to address the homelessness issue within our community. And I am confident that we can do that. Next slide. One again, this was mentioned a couple of times in this meeting, but another just amazing weekend in our downtown. Thousands of people for the Tom Petty cover band that occurred downtown. The farmers market every weekend. I hear people say this was the biggest farmers market we've ever had. Just an amazing time downtown. And if you haven't been to those events, would encourage you to check one out. Next slide. No other slide. All right. So the last slide was going to be my thank you to the public works crews and to the parks crews for the storm damage that they handled this last week. Last week, we had 2 different nights of really bad storms. We had over 80 trees that were either damaged or down. They cleared 46 different streets. They had 5 trees on vehicles, 7 trees on houses. Public Works, just in their overtime, had over 60 truckloads of brush. So they worked very hard and they worked tirelessly to get the community cleaned up. They did a great job and everybody was very patient. So I appreciate the community's patience on that as well. But they work very hard. They're very proud workers and really appreciate what they do for the community. And that's all I've had.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Jeff, I really want to echo what you've said, you know, on many fronts. I think the staff is doing a fantastic job. Anytime we call upon them, I know you and I have dealt with a couple of situations, you know, with Bloomington Housing Authority, or, you know, on the trail, with homelessness, and many other things that, you know, we've seen tonight, even when it comes to providing some fund for people in the community, the staff is always there. So just want to thank everybody for everything that they've done. The cleanup of the storms also has been fantastic. And I think those are things that sometimes can go unnoticed because it happens overnight and people wake up the next day and they don't see anything. So that's something that we definitely need to bring forward for people to know. I do know we do have a ribbon cutting for the library, I believe, next week, August 1st. So everyone is invited. That was a fantastic project. You know, it took us a while to get there, many years, but it's nice to finally see it come to completion. So look forward to seeing everybody there next week. Do we have any other?
Just real quick, Melissa will hunt me down if I don't say this. The inspectors were also critical. They were out in the middle of the night during these storms. So her department also played a critical role in helping to get things back operating. So thanks to her department as well.
Okay. Yay, inspectors. Anybody else? I know it's kind of late and some people are probably chomping at the bit to get home. Okay, all right. Motion?
No, I have a comment.
Oh, you have a comment. Okay, let's go.
I'm going to drag the meeting out. No. My comment has to do with the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council. I'm happy to announce that the meetings are back on track. And last week, the group had a 1.5-day strategic planning meeting. And the charge was to take the mental health action plan and decide on 3 to 5 short-term and midterm goals that would be accomplished by the end of 2025. And this is in order to focus the resources, not just the financial, but the personnel. And I'm happy to tell you that one of the 5 is increasing shelter for the homeless. So it will have to go through the county. It'll have to get approved by the BHCC, but that is one of the focuses of the mental health group going forward. So on all fronts, we're trying to address that.
Thank you. And
Now I'll make
okay, all right. Motion by
Second.
Councilmember Bolin, second by Councilmember Hendricks. I can see it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. We will see you in 3 weeks.
Think so?
Yeah.